Man United 2, Chelsea 1. And after waiting almost 3 weeks after the Burnley game, we finally have a win. We have 3 points, which we can say takes us to 7 points, one behind Chelsea. And you know what? Things can start looking up right now. Now, I'm going to get into the performances. Don't worry. I haven't forgotten the fact that some of our players had a bad performance. Some did play good. And first of all, this was just a game of chaos. Let's cover that first of all. What happened in this game? How did we even get to the point where we were 2-0 coasting after almost 30, 40 minutes? Well, let's go with the first main action that happened in the entire game. And that was Robert Sanchez being an absolute clown, coming out of his box when probably didn't need to, when his defenders probably had it on them. And then Mbomo is through on goal. There's still a chance that the defenders, Fofana, could still get to it. But Robert Sanchez comes charging at Mbomo. Mbomo takes a clever touch just before Sanchez gets to him, and Sanchez gets sent off. Now, the first memory that comes to mind is Emi Martinez. Exactly what he did on the final day of the season. And we were exactly there. And what happens from the subsequent free kick onwards, United just play on second gear. But surprisingly, unlike how we normally do, we don't just fold, but it was a case of where Chelsea was on first gear. So we could actually take the game to Chelsea, even though we weren't playing amazingly well. We were still coasting through the game. And the first main action, Dorgu sets the ball through for Bruno Fernandes, who taps it in. And you know what? Then the game changes. Then suddenly we have momentum. But then we get goal number 2, which is almost a carbon copy of the first goal, by the way. And Casemiro taps it in. Now Casemiro is a hero. We're all heroes. Everybody's a hero. And then Casemiro gets sent off. Laid deep into stoppage time. Casemiro gets a second yellow card. Then the balance of the entire game just blows apart. Now Chelsea, who didn't have any momentum, Caicedo. I was watching Caicedo misplacing passes. One of the best midfielders in the league. Enzo was nowhere to be seen. Neither was Palmer and Estevao, who didn't have time to even get started, by the way. Players, surprisingly, who were benched, who were substituted immediately after the Sanchez red card. That threw away Chelsea's entire game plan, because if you look at the lineup that they went with Estevao, Palmer, Pedro Neto and João Pedro. An insanely attacking lineup. And what happened is when they fell to just 10 men, what they did was they took off Estevao, then they took off Pedro Neto. In pretty much one window of change, even though, you know what, I have my own doubts about that. Anyway, they allowed it to be in one window, so Chelsea got the option to take 2 more windows of substitutions, which surprised me anyways. And then Palmer comes off. Now, later on we get to know that it's because of a groin injury, but once all those 3 main attackers go off, supplying João Pedro, now suddenly Chelsea fall into this weird trance where I've not seen Chelsea play like this in the last 10 years, honestly, where Chelsea is just sitting back and they're playing almost lost. Cucurella was nowhere to be seen. James was here and there. And suddenly we have cruise control. Casemiro gets sent off. And then second half, the story of pretty much Chelsea dominating us. It was as clear as that. 10v10, it was all Chelsea. So that's how we know that Chelsea was probably going to take the game to us anyway. But don't forget the fact, guys, a game is played in 90 minutes. What happens is your fault, right? We did not make Robert Sanchez go and tackle Mbomo. That was all a Chelsea decision. And I'm not saying this was a vintage performance. I'm not saying this is an amazing performance. There's anything to go off and say, you know what, against Brentford, against Sunderland, we're going to actually dominate them. Nope. But enjoy it while we can. Because in the last 31 Premier League games, we've only had 8 wins. And now this is 9 in 32. So I know what other people might say, but just enjoy it while you can, because we don't know when the next win is coming. Because we probably might not beat Brentford. I know we beat Chelsea, but we're not probably going to beat Brentford. And Sunderland, how much is it a shout to say that Sunderland might come and get a draw if they are 11v11? Because 11v11, 10v10, we were not impressive at all. However, let me point out some star performances today before we get to the bad ones. So first of all, the amazing performances, so to speak. When I say star performances, is more like who put in a solid shift. I'd say really Mbomo and De Ligt, there's not much more. Because in the negative performances side, I'm looking at Bruno Fernandes. I'm looking at mainly Patrick Dogo and Ahmad. Those two are horrendous, by the way, today. I don't know how Ahmad and Dorgu stayed on for the entire 90 minutes. When I saw Cunha coming on, I thought Cunha was going to come on for Ahmad. No. When I saw Mount coming on, I thought it might be for Ahmad. No. As even if I like Ahmad, even if I think Dorgu has potential still, I'm not going to sit here and say that both of them didn't deserve to get hooked off today, because they were costing the team. When it came to the final decision-making point, both of them were just they were just blank. And if we want to progress as a team, we need to hold everybody accountable. If somebody's not having a good game, it doesn't matter how much of a favorite they are, you drop them. And Bruno Fernandes in midfield, guys, I'm almost bored saying this. In midfield, this guy in a pivot, he does not work either. Why? Simply because he does not have the defensive discipline. I saw in the first half, there were 3 instances where in 2, Bruno took up the role of attacking midfielder when he was supposed to be in the pivot, leaving just Casemiro alone, leaving a donut-shaped hole in the midfield. And later on, he went into centre-back to reclaim the ball. However, he did not retreat back to his position because he stayed at centre-back, persisting in the defensive structure so that maybe we can progress the ball. However, again, leaving another hole in the midfield. Till we fix that hole in the midfield, nothing's getting sorted. Today, by the way, another one I have to point out is Casemiro. Whatever you do in the first half, it gets negated instantly when you make a stupid decision like what you just did. So, being the experienced player he is, he should have been calm, having known that he's already on a yellow card. At that point, even I didn't realize that he was on a yellow card. I thought, okay, fine, it's maybe a yellow card, maybe just a free kick. But then I saw the red card come out and I see the tackle back. Then I think, Casemiro, you as an experienced professional should know much better than to make a silly tackle like that. When we're already leading 2-0, when we have a man advantage, we can afford to let the Chelsea player go through, especially when none of them had confidence at that time, by the way. We could have afforded to let them go through, see what they could have done, probably nothing, and then we recycle from there. But no, Casemiro made a very, very poor decision, and that red card could have cost us, let's be honest. Because in the second half, Chalobah scored, but every time James was getting down that right side, that cross was always intimidating. There was always a chance that he was going to score either with a rebound or Bayender was going to mess up, or just like it did for Chalobah's goal, our defense just locks up. And who do I blame for that goal? Lenny Yoro. Again, another favorite of mine, but Yoro didn't have a good game when he came on, didn't he? When he came on, you know what? He was pretty solid. However, when it came to the moment when he had to make the block, he did not jump with Chalobah. He did not mark his man. He left it for Ahmad, who was pretty much behind him. He was already tracking the man behind him, checking for the wingback coming in behind. Yoro's man was pretty much Chalobah, and he lost him, and we conceded because of that. Bayender surprisingly had nothing to do. So this tells me that Chelsea lost their head. The second that Sanchez got sent off, the second that Palmer got taken off, Estevao got taken off, and Pedro Neto went off, Chelsea almost were like, you know what, we'll just see this out. We'll just see how much we don't concede. And it's because of that hasty decision-making of Maresca bringing on Andre Santos that you didn't let the game transpire. If you had left it till the halftime at least, you never know. Maybe Pedro Neto was on. And if Pedro Neto was on, I'm telling you, they would have gone and made it 2-2 at some point. Because what they really lacked was wing play. And wing play really destroys us, just like we saw against City. Anyway, overall, we just have to take this win. We should just be glad that we got 3 points. And we don't know when we'll get this again. Anyway, what did you guys think about this game? Comment that down below. And I'll see you on the next one.